We should probably just do our podcast together and interview people together.
Let's do it. I love that.
I feel like we should show our shoes off.
We definitely need to show the shoes off.
New boots.
Boot queens.
New boot goofing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, welcome to the Raw and the Radiant podcast. Please subscribe. Everybody's been watching, but nobody's subscribed. So if you can just hit the subscribe button so we can keep doing this type of stuff and we feel like it's getting out there, that'd be great. And this is my sponsor, Michelle, friend.
Yep.
New boot.
Yep.
Yeah, we're new boot goofing over here. So today we're going to interview me, I guess, and it's something that I've been wanting to do just to get my story kind of out there. And so I asked her to do the interview instead of me just doing it in my car. So
I love this.
Yeah.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you're celebrating 4 years.
Yep, celebrated 4 years.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe just give us like a synopsis of like a baby overall of your journey up to like what got you to like want to walk into sobriety this time at 4 years.
Okay. I got sober at 22, stayed sober for multiple years. I was a kid, so I decided that I was going to try to drink like a gentleman. And like they always say, our addiction is doing push-ups in the parking lot. And so I tried it, and my life went 180 times worse than it was before I got sober when I was 22, right? Like adult problems and shit. So there's that. And then
when you got sober at 22, did you like work a program or anything like that?
I did AA like twice a day. I went to rehab. I'd lost custody of my beau. He was like 3.5. And I was just trying to get back to him, which I did. I regained custody back of him when he was 18 months old, like 50-50. And then when he was 9, he came and lived with me full time. So just kind of how that happened. And he's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, awesome.
We have love for our sons this year.
Our sons are kind of
unique.
Yeah. So yeah. But I don't know. I was a kid, and I understood that, I had to be sober to have beau. And that's like kind of all I understood. I got that assignment, and so I did that. And I got married and 9 years sober. I got remarried and to another alcoholic and recovering alcoholic, and we had 2 more kids. So I have 3 boys, Travis and Bridger, and they're moto kids, and they are a lot. They're a handful. They're more like me than Beau was.
Yeah.
Beau was just like a perfect kid. There's some kids that will learn by your example and some kids that don't learn by your example. And Beau kind of read the room and decided he didn't want to have that life, so he created something more. And then my boys, they really haven't been around too much, and so my stories don't affect them. Like, I haven't done drugs in like 25 years, so they
That's
don't.
Amazing.
Yeah, they don't. They haven't seen like real bad shit. They saw a depressed mom, that drank all day. They didn't see like a lot of neglect and stuff that both saw. So, yeah.
What was life like right before getting sober?
This time around, it was just I went through a divorce, and I had a very successful salon in Idaho, and the divorce was brutal. It was in a small town, and everybody knew what was going on, and even the police knew. And I remember sitting with the sheriff, and he put his hand on my leg, and he goes, "Becky, I think it might be time for you to move home, and when you get your life together, I think you need to be an advocate for women that are in your same situation." And at the time I was like, "Do you want me to die?"
Yeah.
And so it was a sheriff that actually kind of got me in the right direction, and I moved home, and it kind of happened really good timing. So I moved home. My mom was sick, so I got her out of the care center, and I still take care of my mom full time. She has scoliosis, so she has curvature of the spine. So it's literally in a Z, and so she's basically bedridden, but like I take care of her, but she takes care of me, kind of, She's there to talk to, you know.
Yeah.
So just depression, just my first year of sobriety was brutal because yesterday was my sobriety birthday, and I think that you just kind of reflect on where you were at, when like so I scrolled all the way down to 2021 September 10th, and I was underweight, I was malnutritioned, uh, I wore crazy outfits. Whoa. I was like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, put a shawl on, bitch. Like, cover up your shoulders, dude, you hooker.
I
You
relate
know?
to that.
I was just like, whoa.
Whoops.
I was a little dressed a little provocative, but yeah, I scrolled up all the way through the past 4 years and just kind of seen like the light come on. I think that some people see it before you actually see it yourself. And, doing my reflecting yesterday on the 4 years, I was at a meeting last night, and there was a lady that shared that she was having a hard time, and I had just gone 4 years, and it was a rough day yesterday for the community and everything, and so we were all kind of hurting last night, and I said, you just did the hardest thing that you possibly could, is to come into a meeting and be vulnerable and say, I'm not doing good. I'm having a hard time. My ass is falling off. And I said, I acknowledged that. I was like, you just did the hardest thing. It's so hard to come into a room and be vulnerable and humble yourself and say, I have a problem. And then, but this is the deal. Like, that's why I love AA and the rooms, is because everybody knows,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
I think it's kind of cool that you mentioned what that sheriff said. And then even yesterday, right, is a reflection of how I see God, right, using you for purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know that everyone chooses to share their story and to lean in, but I think it's super special, especially with women. I think we're taught or shown like we're so judgmental. And for me, like I own a lot of the time when I used to struggle with women, it had a lot to do really with what was happening inside of me, right? Or things that I hadn't healed. And I've seen really beautiful spaces in especially women's meetings, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for the women who went before me, which is exactly what you did, for that woman who showed up and was vulnerable. It is super hard to be brave. And, you're definitely like, my mind says, like, they're all going to judge me. They don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, we've talked about that, how you relate to that. Like, it's too much or you won't understand. And so I'll just keep it all in, you know? But I think then, right, it just goes sideways eventually. So I
You
think
end up relapsing.
yeah, I think it's super cool that you were able to like love on her in that way, validate that for her. I love that.
It was good. It was really good.
What do you think, like, is your biggest purpose now?
Honestly, for me, like when I first got sober, I was doing a lot of service work. I was just trying to stay busy. Like my first year, I just did so much service work, and probably all for the wrong reasons, you know?
What do you mean the wrong reasons?
I did it selfishly.
Oh, okay.
I did service work selfishly because I knew if I got out of my shit and helped somebody else, it would help me.
Yeah.
And I did it because of that, because I was so broken. I was depressed. I hardly could get out of bed. So like, if the club needed anything, like I was like 2 months sober, and I threw a New Year's Eve party here within like 2 weeks.
All right.
And I was just like, you know what? Fuck that. We need a New Year's Eve party, And so I'd done it like tons of times in the past, and so I decided to do it. And then, I was like, okay, I feel good about myself, but now service work looks a lot different for me. Now I don't do a lot of it. I don't sponsor a lot. I sponsor one person. I don't have a lot of time. I've grown to value my life and my kids' life and my home. And I think that that's where my service work is now, is at home. And because we can kill ourselves trying to service the community in AA, sponsor 100 million women, try to line out our houses and take care of moms and then work 2 jobs. I mean, quintessentially, I work 2 jobs, and so I've really had to find balance in all of it to make it work, and I think the most thing the past 24 hours has shown me is God is good.
Mm.
And with the tragedy that happened yesterday, that's what he stood for. If you put God first, and John Red says it all the time. He's like, I put God first, but my wife thinks she's the most specialist person in my life. My kids think they're the most specialist person in their life, because like if you're doing that first, I think that everything else lines out and is good. Another thing too, that while we're on this topic, is people are always like ego, ego, ego. You're living in ego. When we're out using, we're living in ego. And I live in ego too a lot, and it's different nowadays. Like now I'm confident in who I am, and so my ego is more like, no, I'm good, I got it. But if I would have, they'd say, like, if you first get here, when you're first in recovery, and they have you write a list of everything that you want and see how it comes to fruition in a year, your mind will be blown. But for me, that's such the case, because my ego wanted me, when I first got sober, to have all of this over here. And then I get sober and I turn my will and my life over to God, and my life goes completely the different way that I thought that I wanted. But it's way better. It's like 1,000 times better of what like I could have created on myself. It's just like such a trip. And that's just kind of what's happening for me, is I'm just kind of, I don't know.
You mentioned depression, and that's something that I really relate to anyone who, right, that they're struggling with that or they've experienced that. Can you speak just like some hope into, right, like what you just said? I thought my life would look like this. I was over here. I felt like this, and now I'm here. How would you relate, right, what you were feeling in that state of depression compared to where God has taken your life today?
Yeah, when I first got sober, I slept a lot. I didn't have the option of going to treatment. I had to step up. I had to be a mom. I'm a full-time mom. And so I had to step up for them, and then I had to step up for my mom while dealing with my 46-year-old problems,
Yep.
I guess I was 42 then, but I had to deal with my adult problems, recover, out loud, while trying to figure life out. And it's just very overwhelming. And I think for me, like, if we overthink it, and if we, like, I have ADHD, and if I have like 12 different projects going, I'll lay down in bed and I won't do any of them. And so that's kind of what happened, is I just kind of laid in bed and I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know, and I wasn't really willing to get a sponsor at the time. I wasn't really willing to commit myself to doing step work. I was really just trying to just detox. And, I actually thought that I was going through menopause because I was sweating at night.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with menopause. It had to do with me sweating out cases of vodka, like I didn't even think about the detox part of getting sober. So we got through that. And then so I'd basically like wake up, put a happy face on for the kids, get them off to school, come home, sleep till noon, because I couldn't work. So I lived off my American Express card. Yes, I got sober with American Express. I didn't lose a lot.
Yeah.
I sold a good business to my salon manager. I had nice things. I didn't lose a lot. The only thing that I lost was, like, I just was really dark on the inside. And so I'd sleep nonstop. I'd get the kids home from school. I would sleep till 7 o'clock. So the only thing I was really getting up for was meetings and my kids. And they saw that and they were worried. They would check on me all the time, and then they'd make sure that I was getting up at 7 to go to a meeting, and they would go to the meeting with me. Like they were little, so they're 16 and 14 now, so they were 10 and 12 when I got sober. And so their little minds didn't really know what to do other than to just go with me to meetings. So they came, they made me go,
Yeah.
and they sat and watched it. But now, I'm waking up and I'm like, get your asses up for school. Like, we gotta go. Like, let's go, let's go. So it's just I think that's the thing the Ninth Step promises, like, uh, that I've seen in my life after working the steps and getting over some shit is they always say that your friends see it before you do. But I definitely could see where, and especially looking through my pictures, where the shift changed and I actually had like light in my eyes,
Yeah. Isn't that
So,
crazy?
yeah, that was a flashback. Like, if you do have some time, definitely go back in your camera roll and check out the day you got sober. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I did some crazy shit. I was like taking selfies
Yeah,
and
same.
like doing some like ick. Like, I got the
Yeah.
ick, dude. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need that reminder.
Nah, I
Like, I
didn't.
don't need to go
Definitely
back. Yeah.
like Facebook reminders. It was
Yep.
just like, holy shit,
Thanks,
no.
Google Photos.
Yeah. So yeah, but the thing is I kept up and I kept doing the next right thing, and I made sure I got to the meetings, and then I would get to the meetings and then I would share, which basically I vomited all over everybody. I was a victim, I was a martyr, like I did this because this person did this to me. Um and then they would say something to me, and then I would tell them to meet me at the flagpole. We didn't even have a flagpole at the club then, but we do now. It's called the Becky Betts flagpole, just so if anybody like steps out of line, I can meet them at the flagpole for real this time. But yeah, I was just very angry, very depressed. I want I wanted everything to change like instantly, but I knew that that's not how it works. Like, I'm an adult, so I don't even know if that answered your question.
Totally.
Yeah.
From that feeling to where you are now, like, would you describe you feel peace? You said it wasn't outward things, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily people, places, things, money,
Yeah,
right?
no.
All of that material. It was inside, like your
Yeah.
soul. So
Yeah.
how would you say that feels today?
It's crazy because, like, I was just in Vegas and I was like, oh God, old Becky would have done that, and old
Right?
Becky would have done
Yeah.
this, and old Becky would have done that. And my friend that I went with, he texted me afterwards and he said, I'm just glad that I know this Becky, new Becky,
Yeah.
Old Becky was fun, but if you have to have a substance to be fun, then there's probably a problem,
Yeah,
But
same.
yeah, I feel a lot of peace. I think that that as my sponsor. I don't really like to get out very often. I'm very a homebody. I have chickens and
Which I think is
dogs.
so cool.
Yeah, I have chickens and
I want a
dogs.
goat now, a
Yeah,
fainting goat.
I definitely will have a goat one day. I will have a little petting zoo for
Yeah.
sure one day. But I don't get out much. I don't like to go visit a lot. I'm one of those people that do just go to a meeting and then go home afterwards. I don't go bowling. I don't go to dinners. Um, Certain times I'll go to dinners, like if a good friend's getting a birthday or whatever, I'll go out and celebrate, but then I'll go home. I don't do a lot of dating. I don't, I'm still very guarded at life and keep my peace. I like to just keep my peace. But I am also willing, like I've said before, that I am willing to, maybe look at doing some things, activities. I'm really horny with work, Work makes me horny. Like, I'm always at work. Like, I work behind the chair doing hair, and then I travel for my job as well. So I'm traveling and going to all these cool places. Like, I just got back from Vegas. I'll be in Arizona next week, then I'll be back in Vegas, and then I'll be in Dallas, and then I'll be in Orange County, and then I'm in New York twice at the end of October and the 1st of November. And I think that kind of fuels me too. Like, I'm just kind of in my career era where, I've done good till now, but that was drunk Becky doing all of it, and now sober Becky's here and in charge, and sober Becky has a totally different perspective on where that lands. And God has me going a totally different direction, like I said earlier, and so I'm just kind of trusting that if I work really hard the next 20 years, then maybe I'll be able to relax and enjoy my petting zoo.
Yeah.
So
Think of how many animals we're going to acquire
dude,
together in
so
20
many.
years.
So many. I want a fluffy cow. Like, I don't want any animals that I kill. Like, I don't even eat chicken anymore hardly.
Okay, well, I'm not going to jump on that
Yeah,
bandwagon.
I
I'm the
kind of,
hunter of
I
the
mean,
two of
I know
us.
you're a hunter, and I have my hunting license,
Yeah.
but it's just to say I have my hunting license.
Yeah.
It's not like I would go out. I don't know. I might. I have a gun. So, but yeah, so life's just a lot different. Way more.
I definitely see the peace in you.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the time that we've known one another, I love you have like a zest for life. You
Mm-hmm.
have a love for life. And for myself too included, I think in this season of life, I can really relate to like when I travel, I remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I recently got to go back to Colorado and I went to a show with my son that
Yeah.
like I'm taking it all in.
Yeah.
And it had its moments where I'm like happy and in awe and then like watching everyone. And then I have like these other moments where I'm using all the work I've done and I can totally see like my mother wound on my kid and his, like, and I'm like,
I think that's the worst is when your kids bring up shit.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't, my son's never like ever disrespect. Like it wasn't from him. I'm just watching his ex-girlfriend was there with us. And anyways, it was, but I love for myself that I can do the work and look at, like that totally makes sense why you would choose someone who behaves like that.
Yeah.
Because I definitely, right, there's that inventory of I've definitely, especially emotionally, I really, like you said, even in the times or the way that you used before, my son and the mom that he experienced, right, is completely different than what my daughter had, which is so crazy.
My oldest is like jealous of my teenagers.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, oh, so what? You get to put together mom, and I had a shit show for a mom, and it's like, hey, dude, I was sober, but I was just shit show. I mean, I was in my 20s. I was dating, guys in motorcycle clubs. I was just out of control. I was living my best life sober, but I mean, Bo's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
If you could give your kids or the younger generation, or let's go the younger generation, a piece of advice or encouragement.
I think like the biggest one that I use, and it's an LDS statement. It's the golden rod, the iron rod, and that for me is just kind of solidifies everything. It doesn't even have to be like a religious thing, but the more we hold on to that rod, the more stability we're gonna have. Like as soon as I let go and I start smoking or vaping, then I let go of it a little bit more, and then it opens up a door to maybe starting to smoke weed, or then alcohol. And it's like I was telling my 16-year-old, because he is a little mini me, that alcohol is a progressive thing and that I'm allergic to alcohol. And he said, I'm not allergic to alcohol. And I go, what do you mean you're not allergic to alcohol? Well, he's drank. And then at that moment I have to explain to him that the disease is progressive, and his dad's an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, and but sometimes God gave us our free agency, and that means when we get here and our parents do the best that they can and we teach our children right from wrong, they still have free agency to go and try and do things their own way, to figure out their own path. And I think as a parent, that's going to be the hardest thing to do with these two younger ones of mine, is watching, watching from afar, supporting, trying to, counsel them into doing good things. But yeah, I think the golden rod, the iron rod, is a good thing of that. I know people that have held on to that sucker, and they've had healthy, happy lives. And it's not saying that you're not, bad things aren't going to happen to us. Because life is life and life is going to life. But also like just having that higher power and that God to help us through those situations. I think that, staying close to God and not being a follower. Like I was definitely not the follower. Like my mom blames all of my friends for my destruction shit. But it was me. Like I was the one like, hey dude, let's get some cocaine. And then we'd get the cocaine and I'd be like, let's rock it up. I didn't even know how to do that,
Yeah.
but I was like trying it, and my friends are like, what are we doing? And I'm like, dude, go grab a can, like we need a can, smoke a cigarette. We need some ashes. You know what I mean? Like I was the bad influence, you know what I mean? And so make sure like birds of a feather definitely flock together and make sure that, you're hanging out with people that support you and want your best interests. And, especially in this day and age, there's so many things that could go awry right now in life, and way more than I was a kid. Like we literally like didn't have cell phones, nothing. When the street lights came on, it was time to come home.
Yeah.
We couldn't go past the stop sign, and if we did, our moms were going to kick our asses. Literally like beat our asses. I can't even spank my kids nowadays.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've popped them a couple times, but they said sorry to me afterwards, and that's right. you know but yeah, I think those are very good things. Since I do go to church and I am involved with like youth stuff and things like that, that question always get asked of me. And I think it's just making sure that, you know remembering who you are, you know and not being a little motherfucker. Just don't be a little motherfucker. Just be a good kid. And don't stress out your moms.
Be good to your moms.
Be good to your moms, man. But
where would you say, right, we're talking about God. We like obviously we share a love and a faith that is the same. But right, there's a million different ways. One of the things that the program teaches is we get to choose our higher power.
Yeah.
So what would you say to anybody who's listening that's like, I have, right, my past relationships or experiences with religion or God, no bueno, I don't want to have that, or I don't want that.
Yeah.
Where would you say, let's just even use the 4 years when you came in and what your relationship was with God? How has that transitioned and like transformed in just even 4 years? Where is that now? Is it the same or different?
It's the same, but that's one of the reasons why that I like AA is because it's not like church. Like I was raised in a religion where we had all these rules and commandments and all this shit, and I think that that's one of the reasons I rebelled. It's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to go do my own thing. But in AA, when we get here, a lot of us were raised in a religion or, something like that. And it's crazy. And we're just like, fuck that. I don't want that in my life. I can't turn my will over to that God. So that's the greatest thing about AA and coming into the program is that I look around and like, I got friends that believe in Buddha and, all sorts of different types of, higher powers. And I always share in meetings, especially when we're on like We Agnostic and, those types of chapters, that the heavier chapters in AA is, I always make sure I share because I don't want to scare out the newcomer by just saying God, 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 God. That's my story, but that's not all of our stories. I think it's very important to find your own conception of a higher power. And it's also like alcoholism. I think higher power and stuff, it's progressive. It's just like alcoholism is progressive. Like finding your higher power is a progressive thing. And maybe day one you're praying to a doorknob. I hate that philosophy or whatever, but then you move up to the trees and you're going for hikes, and you're getting out in wilderness. I mean, if you can be close to God, that's where it is. It's up in the mountains and the trees. And but I think that's one of my favorite parts about AA is because it's allowed me to fire that perception I had of God that my mom raised me with, and I can find my own God who loves me unconditionally, is here to support me, but wants me to do right. And I think that's just what all of our higher powers want. Another thing too that a lot of people do, and I suggest all the time, is all of us have a grandma or a grandpa that passed away. At first, if you don't want to pray to higher power, pray pray to your grandpa, pray to that person that passed away. I have a best friend that died about 7 years ago, and I talk to her all the time. In fact, like if she's near and I feel like she's close to me, I'll be like, oh shit, let me get my blow dryer, curling iron, makeup, all my shit off my front seat, and I just throw it onto the floor. And I said, sit down, dude, let's bullshit for a little while. And if she's not there and I'm making it up in my mind, all I know is that I had 10 minutes of peace with my best friend. And I think at the end of the day, like, that's what it comes down to. If your higher power can get you through the life traumas that we have here on life and get us through those experiences, and if we die and there isn't anything after that, at least we kind of had some peace while we're here on this shithole.
Yeah. I for sure, in my experience, right, the way that I was raised, I mean, I came in very angry at God, and they used words like God and Father and Savior. I was like, negative, ghostwriter. Like, I don't need any of those.
People start throwing Savior around in a meeting. I get the ick, dude. I'm like, what? No, dude.
But I also, right, especially I too, right, was introduced at 22, and my journey for sure is like learning little by little, like step by step. And I think for me and where I'm at today, the way that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the first 164 pages, there's things that I heard in a room, and right, when they were like, you have to, turn your will and your life over to the care of God.
Yeah.
I missed the as you understand him. I missed all of, I had like little girl goggles, right? I was still a scared little girl in a big girl body.
Yeah.
And that made no sense to me. And so I think, for me, it's always important today, like where I got to. I mean, I define myself as an alcoholic because the big book states that an alcoholic is someone who seeks an elusive feeling outside of themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't know a human on the planet that hasn't wanted to not be them or use something to not feel like them, even for a moment.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe the steps are good for anyone, that you don't even just have to be an alcoholic. You can use it for any issue, any better way of life, any like.
I feel like my mom could take a go at the 12 steps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's a little Mormon lady,
Yeah.
But that's another thing too, is that I did when I first got sober. Like I'm very aware of myself, and that I seek validation through other things, or I seek comfort through other things. When I first got sober, I didn't just quit alcohol. I quit smoking cigarettes. I was a smoker for 28 years. So I'll be off cigarettes like for 4 years in like 2 weeks. It's such a big deal, dude. Like I was just like, you know what? I'm like night sweating and I'm going through premenopause and I'm, detoxing off alcohol. Why not kick cigarettes at that too? And I also kicked men and sex. And I know this is going to sound bizarre, but well, actually, I'm probably not even going to say that, but I quit every mind altering thing. That means orgasms, men, cigarettes, alcohol, seeking pleasure in things that were going to make myself feel better. And that's, I think, that was the hardest part. And I think I'm the only one that I've ever met that's ever done that. I don't think that, because it's like, I remember when I got my 60 days when I was like 22 years old, they're like, how did you do it? I'm like, I masturbated every day for 60 days. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like that's how I've grown in like some years. But if you really want to fix yourself and heal and shit, like they suggest you don't quit smoking for a year, get sober, get your shit lined out. Don't add any emotional stress onto you. But I was just sick of being tired. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, so the cigarettes had to go. The men had to go. They all played a huge role. I've been married 3 times, first one's addicted to heroin. The second one had an affair. The third one was addicted to pornography. Like, my picker is broken. Why do I keep continually picking the same type of men that are not going to get me ahead in life? Like, I'm old school, so I feel like a man should be the protector and the provider and lead the family. And I've never had that in any of my relationships. So why did I do that? So I really had to remove all of that from my life so I could figure out what the fuck I was doing, And I think that's why 4 years later I don't go out, because every time I go out I get hit on. My Uber driver asked me to marry him a couple days ago. Like, he's like, when do you come back to Vegas? I'll take you to a nice steak dinner. We can get married. I was like, whoa, hold on, dude. Easy. But yeah, I don't know. I think that that was what I needed to do for my journey. I don't think that that's what everybody needs to do for their in particular journey. I also saw a lot of trauma therapy and therapy too. I think that a lot of the time we do need to seek help from a professional, you know. Um, a sponsor could not have got me through that trauma that I was feeling when I first got sober. They're not educated enough to you know, sift through the bullshit and help me figure out what I needed to do to start loving myself. And so I'm a big time seek professional help. I know one alcoholic helping another one helps a lot, and it does, and it did, and it still is, and it, you know, but definitely like medication too. Some of us need to be on meds. I am currently not on meds, and I haven't been this whole time. But sometimes, you know, we do have brain misfires, and a lot of us do self medicate. I know when I was young, I would do a little cocaine and then I would do a little weed and then maybe I need a little alcohol to simmer me down from that. Like I was definitely self-medicating my ADHD at a very young age without when I could have gone to a doctor and got, you know, some help professionally instead of self-medicating. So I'm big on searching for professional help as well. So
I definitely relate to that. I think what's beautiful about being in the rooms, right? As
mhm.
you said, we all get to pick our own journey, just like our spiritual experiences will be different, right? Our relationship with our higher power, with God, is unique. It gets to
Mhm.
be our own. I too, I've only been to treatment once, and I went at 34 as like a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Like I had struggled with drugs and alcohol, but where I was at in my life, like what I've learned about myself is, and I used to laugh. People would be like, "You have to be emotionally sober," and I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here! That doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything."
Yeah.
Michelle, not emotionally sober is like actually.
It's
There's probably some
devastating.
people that be like, "Make her drink."
Dude, I've been to jail
I'm
9 years sober
that's
for battery,
yeah.
dude. I beat
I'm
the
like,
shit out of that
whoo,
second ex-husband, man.
yeah.
I was just like in jail, 9 years sober, thinking, oh God,
Yeah,
you know?
I think what was really good for me when I went to treatment, I'm super passionate about going into treatment centers, especially with women.
Yeah.
But I love, like, when I went there, like I had only ever been shown a 12-step program in
Yeah.
the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't come from a place where going to a doctor was normal, a therapist was normal, like none of
Walk
those
it off,
things.
dude. Walk
Yeah,
it off.
like just put that face
Yeah.
on and like fix yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to like just perform,
Yeah.
be better. And I just became a really good liar over and over again. I in my story I say, like, I call it self-harming,
Mm-hmm.
but I just learned to control pain. And I think that's really what you're describing, is we learn how to handle self-medicate in certain ways. And
Yeah.
there's not a group I can't go to, like pulling my hair out, cutting, undereating, overeating, sex, gambling, money, shopping, work,
Yeah. I'm
exercise.
addicted
Like,
to everything that
yeah,
makes me
I'm
feel
like, I
better.
can make it look really ugly or I can make
Yeah.
it look really pretty.
Yeah.
And I just love, when I went to treatment, that's what I was exposed to, is that there's so many ways to heal, to grow, to be healthier, to recover and live that way.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm passionate about like preaching that really loud. And so I love that you mentioned, I think coming in so young, right? And I'm just looking at people that are like, oh, they're happy, joyous, and free, and they have a Denali and a what,
Most of them are full of
but
shit.
you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
I had these unrealistic
Yeah.
expectations, like kind of like the first time I went to therapy. I'm
Yeah.
like, did you heal me?
Yeah.
I'm a piece
Now
of
what?
shit.
Am I good? You
Yeah.
know? They're like,
And
bitch, you need 5 more
yeah.
years. I'm like, what?
So not that it's like discouraging, right?
Yeah.
But there were seasons of my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do this forever.
Yeah.
So to anybody who feels like that, me too. And
Yeah.
also, right, a
I
message of
hope that
hope
I
of
get
it
to do
doesn't,
this.
now I get to,
Yeah.
right?
Now
The
I
hope
get to.
is, I love growing. I
Yeah.
love stretching myself today. Um, I think like our time. Um,
Oh shoot.
Maybe we can end with, what are your goals? Like, what do you hope for yourself? Let's just say like in the next year. And I mean, so you're talking about, you've done so much self growth, and
Hmm.
I just want to honor your choices to lay down all of those things, including, right, relationships and friendships and even independence in a way. Like, I
Yeah.
really honor. Um, like I said, when we first come into the rooms and we see service is like different, and I love, right, how you live your life, and you live your life for other people. You love on other people with your job. You love on other people in recovery and in your home, not just your kids.
Oh, I
Where
got 12
like,
teenagers at my house on a
yeah,
daily, regular
you just
basis.
love big. You
Yeah.
love your mom big.
Yeah.
And within yourself, if, right, how we say, I know that you're going to hand it to God and he's
Yeah.
going to take it wherever it goes. But what are the things you know for sure you want to hang on to within yourself? And where do you, like, what's a goal that,
So, like, recently, I just hired a personal development coach, and I think that that's going to be my biggest upfall is, you know, seeking out a professional, you know.
yeah,
I don't know how to adult. I don't know how. I've been on the street since I was 15 years old doing crazy shit, you know. I've hung out with motorcycle clubs since I was 17 years old, you know. I know street smarts. I can get through the day. I know my surroundings at all time. Like, I have that covered.
yeah,
What I don't know how to do is be a successful adult. You know, I don't know how to type out a successful email. I don't know how to, you know, line out my future to be successful. So I've actually gone and hired a personal development coach. And honestly, like, I just hope that that just takes me to the next level in life and with my career and with my kids. And you know, that's a cool part too, is like I've already learned so much from him that I've shared it with my kids, you know. Instead of saying nervous, say you're excited.
yeah,
It's the same feeling inside, but just saying I'm nervous kind of dims you down, but then saying you're excited brings you up, you
yeah,
know. So just little things like that. So I think that I definitely know I'm going to carry God with me into, you know, the future. And I know that that gets stronger and stronger for me every day. My solidification that God's there and loves me and cares about me, but wants me to live, you know, a good life. And, you know, God doesn't want us down here like doing cocaine and, you know, doing shady
no,
shit. Like, God wants us down here being with our families and, you know, benefiting the community. And that's what God wants. And I'm going to continue doing that. But I'm definitely excited to be working with a personal development coach. I actually would like to be in a healthy relationship. Like, I really want to start looking at, you know, why I chose the men that I chose. Like, even my 14-year-old told me that my picker's broken when it comes to picking dads. So any dude that I date from here on, I have to make sure he's a solid parent. That's like the biggest thing. Like, my ex-husband pulled up and his girlfriend got out of the truck and yelled Happy Father's Day to me the other day. And I will never be the girlfriend that hops out of my boyfriend's truck and wishes his baby mama a happy Father's Day.
yeah,
You know, like, I'm going to be very purposeful on who I date. And because I don't want to grow old alone, but I don't want to also get into another unhealthy situation. So, you know, working on relationships, and I'm reading a book right now that's how to unfuck yourself when it comes to relationships. And my 14-year-old actually said, Beck, Mom, you don't need to read this book. You need to give this book to every guy you've ever dated. But son, why have I picked all these
that's
guys
right.
that I've
Yep.
dated?
That's it.
I either want to fix them, help them, you know, definitely get them out of their wife beaters and into a polo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my last ex-husband, I spit shined the shit out of him. You know what I mean? He had a broken down FXR, a piece of shit truck. When I left him, he had a beautiful home, nice truck. I mean, I know that's just, you know, materialistic stuff, but, you know, I'm just done spit shining. I'm like, I want one that's already spit shined. I already want one that has morals and values, believes in family. He doesn't need to be in recovery, but he needs to respect my recovery. And I'm just excited about my future and my career.
I'm excited for you too.
Yeah.
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 Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thank
Happy
you.
4 years. Feel free
Yeah.
to reach out to us.
Yeah.
Message us.
Messages.
We're here.
Mhm.
So just know that you're not alone, and we hear you, us too,
Yep.
and we love you.
And make sure you like and subscribe,
Yeah.
because like everybody's watching the videos, but like nobody's subscribed to my channel. I'm like,
we're really reaching out, especially, right, people who want to share their stories. That's
yeah.
the whole
And
goal.
then they come to my channel and they're like, nobody's even subscribed. Why would I want to come talk to you, Becky?
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, because I'm doing it different. I don't know. But
So
Yeah.
that's our ask. We
Yeah.
love that you listen to us.
Yeah.
Please subscribe. Again, anybody out there that's looking for support, love, or just to say hi, we're here.
Just say hi.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you.
Wow.